In Shakespeare's play, Romeo and Juliet, there is a scene in which Juliet, thinking she is alone, laments the fact that she and Romeo can never be together because of the feud between their two families. "'Tis but thy name that is my enemy," she muses. "What's in a name? That it which we call a rose, by any other name would smell as sweet." The concept of a name in Judaism is much different. Names are not just an arbitrary means of distinguishing one person from another. Your name, so they like to say, is key to your soul. Names are a book yet to be written. They are a story yet to be told. Jacob was the son of Isaac and Rebekah, the grandson of Abraham. He was given the name of Jacob because when he was born, he was holding on to the heel of his twin brother Esau, as if they were already struggling for the right to become the firstborn child. The name Jacob comes from the word heel. They were rivals from the very beginning. There came a time when Jacob deceived his father and claimed his brother's birthright as the firstborn. That resulted in outright hostility between them, and Jacob had to flee. A lifetime later, by necessity, Jacob returned once again to Canaan, hoping that somehow he could be reconciled with his brother. He sent servants ahead with lavish gifts to give his brother. They returned with word that his brother had already assembled an army. Fearful, Jacob divided his camp into two groups, hoping that at least one group might survive. He himself stayed behind as everyone else crossed over the Jordan River. He was alone when he was attacked that night. He wrestled with his antagonist throughout the night, and as light began creeping over the horizon that morning, his attacker said, "Let me go, for it is daybreak." Strangely, Jacob answered him by saying, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." We can only wonder what he was thinking. He was in a struggle for his life, and he asked his attacker for a blessing. People were strange back then. The man responded by asking a question himself, saying, "What is your name?" We have to wonder what that was about too. So Jacob told him, and then the stranger said to him, "Your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, because you have struggled with God and with humans and have overcome." This is the way Jacob became Israel, so named by a stranger who wrestled with him through a long night until the break of day. Presumably, as the man was leaving, Jacob asked him, "What is your name?" To which the stranger replied, "Why do you ask?" And that was it. The long struggle was over, and it ended with a question. "Why do you ask my name?" The question implied that Jacob already knew who this stranger was. After all, they'd just spent the night together. Jacob himself came away from this experience saying, "I saw God face to face, and yet my life was spared." We are led to believe then that somehow he and God in human form had struggled with each other. And as a result of that struggle, Jacob became a changed man with a new name, Israel, which of course translates to one who wrestles with God. I have, of course, preached about this story before. And as I said back then, our own struggle with God is usually much more internal than external. It grabs hold of us while we are trying to figure out what is right and what is wrong. It wounds our pride until we must finally face up to our own failures and realize just how short of the mark we have fallen. Then it turns us around and lays us down upon Jordan's bank and whispers, "Why do you ask my name?" Because, of course, we already know the answer to that question. This is the Lord of all creation, the author of life, the God of our fathers and mothers, who first walked with Adam and Eve in the garden. This is the one who struggles with us and also struggles on our behalf to determine the very fate of our souls. That same question of identity arises again when Moses comes face to face with God, who is asking him to lead the children of Israel out of Egypt. Suppose I go to the Israelites and say to them, the God of our fathers has sent me to you, and they ask me, what is his name? Then what shall I tell them? Moses asked. This time, there was an answer given of sorts. God told Moses, I am who I am. This is what you are to say to the Israelites. I am has sent me to you. 1,000 years later, Jesus was confronted by the Pharisees and pushed to explain his own identity, and he finally used the very same words. I tell you the truth, he told them, before Abraham was born, I am. Very clearly, Jesus saw himself not as some rabbi, but as the answer to Jacob's question and to the question Moses asked as well. As C.S. Lewis once wrote, you must make your choice. Either this man was and is the Son of God, or else a madman, or something worse. You can shut him up for a fool, you can spit at him and kill him as a demon, or you can fall at his feet and call him Lord and God. So maybe it really was Jesus whom Jacob wrestled with during the night, God in human form. Or maybe it was only a dream. I have no idea, really. But certainly, we have to wrestle now with our own identity because the words of Jesus challenge the way we live and bring us face to face with the living God. In time, the followers of Jesus became known by their new name as Christians. That is our collective name, regardless of the other labels that we give ourselves. And now we can only really define ourselves in respect to who Jesus is. God has truly given us this new name. And as Peter told those same Pharisees who wanted to stone Jesus, Jesus is the stone you builders rejected, which has become the cornerstone. Salvation is found in no one else, for there is no other name under heaven given to mankind by which we must be saved. Names came before the existence of those things with which they would subsequently be identified. So wrote one Jewish scholar, names are not the offspring, but rather the parents of everything in the universe. Things really are what they are called. Or to put it more bluntly, they are what they are because of what they are named, in spite of Shakespeare's belief that a rose by any other name would smell just as sweet. Unquote. See, and I bet you wondered where I was going with that Romeo and Juliet stuff. The name Jesus, of course, means God saves. He was given that name at birth because he would become our Savior, and he is sometimes also called Emmanuel as well, because he truly was and is God with us. On the banks of the Jordan River, Jacob was given a new name because he had struggled with God and with humans and had overcome. We have been given a new name too. In the Jewish writings, called the Midrash, one of the rabbis suggests that when we complete our years on earth and face heavenly judgment, one of the most powerful questions we will be asked at the outset is, what is your name? And did you live up to it? As Christians, I think we know what name we really have to live up to. Be safe, and God bless you.